FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
Joining me right now on the phone is Mr. Speaker Newt Gingrich. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm coping with the St. Louis humidity, but doing well. You had a very great, very strong performance in the debate. Do you think that you did well on Monday night?
Well, I think that it helps to have people hear what you actually said without any editing. And I think that when the elite media can't distort or re-explain or contextualize or change what I said, the solid grassroots conservatism of my views came through. So, I was delighted to have a chance to be there. I thought we had some pretty good answers, and frankly, we're going to keep on talk radio and on Facebook and at newt.org, our website. We're going to keep talking about ideas no matter what the elite media wants.
Were you did you think of this at all during the debate as to when they were perhaps going to ask you any questions on energy or foreign policy? Because it seemed as though it took about an hour before there was any foreign policy questions that were thrown in. When you look back on it, when you reflect on the debate, do you think that you would have liked to have more of those questions so that you would have had a chance to answer them and put your ideas out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I like doing talk radio, Dana, is that you can have an actual conversation. You know, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, the most famous in American history, were actually 7 debates of 3 hours each with no news media moderator, no questions, just 2 adults talking about the future of America. And I think sometimes when you get to these things where there are 7 people and you get 30 seconds and the moderator is anxiety-ridden and he wants to ask you, acute this or that question at a time when 14 million Americans are unemployed and 1 out of every 4 Americans' homes is worth less than its mortgage, you do sort of feel that the system has somehow gone awry.
Right. Now, I think your performance really came at a good time because you've had kind of a couple of rough weeks with the campaign. You had several consultants leave, which has prompted all sorts of conspiracy theories about whether or not they left because there's a chance that Texas Governor Rick Perry might enter the race. A lot of people were saying that your campaign was finished after these consultants left, but you've recently relaunched it. What do you say to people who see this happening and say that your campaign may be finished or that this is a sign of loyalty, that people left your campaign for the possibility of joining a Perry one?
Well, I say, first of all, that the American people will decide this, not the elite news media in Washington. I say, second, that we had a fundamental difference. For example, I have a brand new book out called A Nation Like No Other. It takes the Declaration of Independence, the fact that our rights come from our Creator, that they are unalienable rights, that you and I are sovereign, all of our listeners are sovereign, we loan power to the government. Barack Obama represents a secular European socialism that believes that Washington's in charge and you and I are merely subjects. The traditional campaign consultants found it very confusing how you could have a book in a campaign. I tried to explain to them that the most successful political brochure in history is 85 chapters, has 600 pages, and is called The Federalist Papers, and was written to explain the Constitution to the American people so they would vote for it. I believe in an idea-oriented campaign of positive concepts designed to solve the very real problems we're faced with, and I find that that sometimes confuses traditional political consultants who want you to spend all your time raising money so they can buy negative attack ads against your opponent.
Right, right. One of the things that I read, and I want to give you the chance to address this too, from the New York Times, is that the New York Times had reported that one of the reasons for the split concerned a vacation that you took, a cruise that you took, and they were saying that the consultants were upset over that, and that was one of the things that sort of caused the split. What is your reaction to stories like that in the New York Times?
Well, I mean, look, I'm trying to talk about substance. I'm trying to talk about how to create jobs. I'm trying to talk about an American energy program, as you just pointed out. I'm trying to talk about safety and security. The elite media is desperate to avoid covering substance. They will report on virtually anything to avoid talking about what is actually going on. And I think they're so desperate to protect Barack Obama that every time I'm going to make a speech in Atlanta, for example, at the Atlanta Press Club next Wednesday morning, I'm going to ask a fundamental question, which is, who got our money? with all the hundreds of billions of dollars given out by the Federal Reserve, where did the money go? Who got it? We deserve to have a transparent accounting of the Federal Reserve. Now, I suspect it'll be very interesting to see if any of the networks who are busy covering trivia are willing to cover a serious speech about a huge multi-hundred-billion-dollar question about power in America. I gave a speech yesterday morning in Concord, New Hampshire, on creating jobs, helping small businesses, helping people buy a home or sell a home, helping home builders get back into business. And there was an ABC reporter there, and she had a junk question that was factually false. And I kept telling her, cover the speech, cover the ideas that matter. And so, I really believe that we are an exceptional country with a very left-wing elite, and much of the national news media is part of that left-wing elite. And certainly the New York Times would count as that kind of a left-wing publication.
Right. A lot of people, especially when you see the birth of new conservatism, this grassroots movement, the Tea Party movement, a lot of people still, I think, view you as being sort of the representative of the old guard in Washington. There's a lot of young conservatives that still, they're not familiar with things that you've done in Washington back in the 90s, and they still sort of view you as being old guard. How do you reach out, or how do you plan to reach out to new conservatives to show them that you're different, that you are also new conservatism, and that you would really be bringing change into D.C.?
Well, I would say, first of all, that the great hope I have is that people will give me a fair chance to talk about what we'll do in the future and what we accomplished in the past. I'm the only candidate running who has actually led to 4 consecutive balanced budgets, paid off $405 billion in debt. I led the most successful entitlement reform of your lifetime, and we reformed welfare, and 2 out of 3 people on welfare actually ended up going back to work or going back to school. The fact is that the ideas we represent are eternal. Dana, you were in A City Upon a Hill, which is a documentary that Clist and I made about the founding of America, about the whole concept of the Declaration of Independence and why we're a unique country, why American exceptionalism is real.
Right.
And I would hope that young people who are concerned about Barack Obama's secular European socialist model would take a look at what it's like to have a serious person who's trying to lay out a serious alternative, not just a political alternative, not just the newest gimmick or the newest clever focus group, but a really deep historical intellectual understanding.
Well, Speaker Gingrich, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us. We wish you luck. We're going to be watching you at future debates and on the campaign trail.
Thank you. Look forward to it, Dana.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.